Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to call to order the February 15th meeting of the Conejo Recreation Park District Board of Directors. And we're going to start off with a wild, I don't know if that's the right word, but a duo flag salute with Doug, board member, and Frank from the coach of the COU Championship Soccer Team. If you'd please lead us in the flag salute.
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Aline, roll call, please. Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
We have a full quorum present. We now go to item 3, special presentation. California Lutheran University Women's Soccer Team, Division III National Championship. Okay. Staff, are you going to give a little prelude with this?
No, I'm not. I'm going to turn it right over to Doug and Chuck.
Okay.
All right. We'll do a little team tag team here effort, but welcome you. We'll have you stab it in a minute, but just hold on there for a second here. CRPD, the Conejo Recreation Park District, has established 2 separate awards intended to recognize the outstanding performances of Conejo Valley athletes. We have the Young Athlete Award, but then also, as tonight, the Athletic Achievement Award, which is we're being presented to the 2023 CLU Women's Soccer Team. The Athletic Achievement Award recognizes an individual athlete of any age or an entire team from any school or sports organization within the CRPD district boundaries or who resides within CRPD district boundaries, who has displayed exceptional athletic achievement or success in their sport. Members of the Athletic Recognition Program Committee, which is Commissioner, well, I guess in some cases you are, Chuck Huffer and myself, as well as other board members, may select a nominee at any time or nominations may be submitted by the general public. The rest of this I'm going to hand over to Director Huffer, but I just want to personally welcome you on this step of your world tour for being recognized, and we're glad to have you here tonight. So Director Huffer.
I can see you ladies over there somewhere. They got me on the wrong end of the table, so I am going to apologize. Most of I think all of my fellow board members and the CRPD staff members know that I'm a little bit of a soccer nerd. Been involved with soccer for 35 years or something. So when we came up with this, I was so excited, and I am so excited. Tonight, we're honoring the Cal Lutheran University women's soccer team and their coach for the historic season, which culminated in being crowned the Division III NCAA champions. They had a historic regular season. I did have a chance to get to several of your games, and they entered the NCAA national tournament unranked. That meant that all the so-called experts were figuring they were going to bow out early in the tournament. They defeated Carleton, Pomona Pitzer, and Hardin Simmons, each by 1 goal margin. And then the Regals defeated the #1 ranked team in the country in Division III, Christopher Newport, on penalty kicks in the Elite 8. They went on to defeat Tufts University in the Final Four, also on penalty kicks. I think your coach must have been really working on those penalty kicks, right? And then they faced the #2 ranked team in the nation, Washington University, in the national championship on December 2nd. I was thrilled because they were, at least the last 2 games, maybe the last 3 games, were being streamed back here to Thousand Oaks, and had a chance to watch those games. And I'm going to let Frank in just a minute talk about some of the individual players and what they accomplished in those last few games. Head coach Frank Marino, who also happens to be the Westlake High School girls soccer coach, probably in the middle of the season right now, was quoted as saying, and I hope we're quoting this correctly, Frank, that this group of girls is one of the most incredible group of girls I've ever met. Frank, we agree with you that this is indeed an incredible group that has accomplished an incredible goal and made the community very proud. So on behalf of the Conejo Recreation and Park District and the Board of Directors, we'd like to congratulate the players, coaches, and support staff on your amazing season. And we wish all of you the best of luck next season and in the future. And Frank, if you'd like to go to the podium there, if you have a few words, I know you're a man of few words, but just a little bit about your team and the players.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for having us here tonight. Thank you to the board for honoring us. This means a ton to us to have the support of the community. The community support has been absolutely tremendous from the Conejo Valley with all the live streaming you mentioned of it, some local businesses and everything that went on. We thank you so much for following us and honoring us here tonight. As you mentioned, I couldn't be more proud of this group and everything that they accomplished. They are one of the most passionate, respectful, caring, authentic group of people you could ever be around. And it just speaks volumes for what having good character and being good people can lead to on the field. And what they accomplished was incredible. There's memories I could talk about all day long for what we went through and everything that we accomplished. You know, the last game with Belleville J6 goal and you know, the missing the players we were missing in the final game and having players step up and accomplish what they did was incredible. I couldn't be more proud. But what's most impressive with this group is they're not only great players, they're also great students. They do an amazing job in the classroom. They had a 3.61 GPA during the first semester this year. That's while missing 2 weeks of class for playing all these games. So to be able to do all of that and accomplish what we accomplished on the field is truly amazing. And I just want to say again, thank you to everybody for putting us on and having us here tonight, and just for the community support that you've given us. And you know, having basically lived in the Conejo Valley my entire life, it means a lot that this group took the time to recognize us, and I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you and all the players. We're going to be presenting.
I believe are the certificates, do they have the individual players' names on them or?
Yes, I'm gonna give Coach certificates today with, but then if they want to come up for a picture and take medals, but I don't know if the board members want to say some comments before that.
That makes sense. So.
Yeah. So Director Heffer, if you'd lead us off with some various comments.
Oh, I've already made my comments. I can't say I know Frank very well, but my daughter played at the same time at that other school in Thousand Oaks while you were coaching Westlake. So I'm very familiar with Frank and his reputation and how more often than not Westlake was doing a number on TOs. So
Sorry about that.
Director Kessler.
Congratulations. That's amazing. And you've made our city proud. And I know how difficult and how much practice and time you must have put into that, plus doing all of your studies. It's very committed and very commendable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kessler. Director Buss.
So I played soccer my whole life. I did not play in college, which means you are all a lot better than me. But I have to say about ladies that play soccer, there's a certain level of grit that I wish I could see you in 20 years and see what you all accomplish, because I know you guys will be huge mentors in whatever you do for all the people below you, and you will break many glass ceilings. So congratulations to you ladies.
Thank you, Director Buss. Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, ladies, congratulations. I know it's a significant accomplishment. I did not play soccer. I played baseball as a youth, but I did coach soccer in our AYSO program here. So I had to learn at least enough to coach an 8-year-old, which I was able to do for a couple of years, 8 and 9-year-olds. So I learned that about soccer. And then I went on to referee. I was on the board and things. So I was very involved with it. What I do remember is when my son was playing, he played all through high school. We went to a tournament in Irvine, and, you know, there's like thousands of kids all over playing in one of these weekend tournaments. And he always said he wanted to be a professional soccer player. And so I pointed all the kids around here. I said, Jesse, how many of these kids also want to be a professional soccer player? And how many of them you think will actually be there? And so it got him to thinking about that, about what the accomplishment is. So just, some of you folks may actually get to that point. You're on that trajectory. But as I see the accomplishment that you've already had in your career thus far, that's a major accomplishment. There are a lot of folks out there, a lot of kids, that look up to people like you as examples and say, wow, I know that girl, maybe it's a sister or something that they look up at you. And you're just a wonderful example for you, the people that you know, and for our community. And the last thing I want to say is you must be really smart, because we have a lot of youth and perhaps some of Frank's former students that leave the area to go play soccer. But you're the smart ones that come to Thousand Oaks to play soccer. I mean, what better climate can you have than in Thousand Oaks, and the community support that you get? So thank you for representing us, because I know you come from all over the states and all over the state of California. But thank you for representing us, and good luck on your future, wherever that may take you.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Well, I have a couple little quick stories. When I heard you played and beat Tufts, that was one of the universities my son worked at for a number of years. And a lot different environment than we have here at Cal Lutheran, and you picked the right college. And similar to Director Nichols' comments, I knew nothing about soccer. We had just come from living in England for a year. I'd see local games and see them on the telly and so forth. And but I knew nothing about it. I was a American football player in high school and ran track. But anyway, our son was 5 years old when we came back from England, and I went to sign him up for soccer, and he said, we don't have any more coaches. Now, if you want to coach, we'll have a team and your son can play. I said, I know nothing about soccer, but I was motivated just to get my son on a team. So a new team was created. So I went down to the bookstore and got a book on Soccer 101 or whatever they called it in those days. And I ended up coaching probably 7 years, both son and daughter's teams, refereed like Doug mentioned, and Director Huffer and so forth. So I definitely bought into the sport, the game, and the competition. And you girls are all, as has been mentioned, you are so smart in number one, going to Cal Lutheran, coming here to Thousand Oaks, but you're also so competitive, and you're showing your skills by accomplishing the national championship. That's just phenomenal. So thank each of you. And as Director Nichols was mentioning, no matter what area you continue to pursue, we know you will be successful, because based on our experience, those that are really successful have been participating on team sports and competition, head-on-head competition, etc. So you girls are really in the right place, and we hope that everything goes well for you in your future, and God bless you all. Thank you.
So Frank, what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to ask you to introduce each of the young ladies individually. And as you introduce them, we'll present them with a highly coveted Conejo Recreation and Park District Medal of Accomplishment.
Awesome. Thank you.
Which, by the way, these have been given to Kobe Jones and Eric Winalda, in case you're soccer athletes.
Yeah,
Historians.
And-
Old men to you
I was
guys.
gonna say, and
Old-
they don't know
old-
who
old
that
men.
is.
Old men to you guys.
They're like, who? What? Let me Google that.
Thank you again. All right, here we go. And we'll start with a lifetime resident of the Conejo Valley here from Newbury Park, Eden Quiros. Bella Veljasic. Caitlin Winter. Mia Spellman.
Yeah.
Bryn McMahon. Avery West. Our assistant coach, who's also a Cal Lu alum, Shannon Pennington. Hannah Swan. Taylor Holt. Maya Blodgett. Kelsey Slaw. Hannah Gamez. And Elena Baltazar.
And feel free to leave anytime. Don't expect you to sit through the meeting.
Oh, is this this evening? I'm excited to hear that.
You're welcome so much.
They were so young and they were my soccer coach in high school. Because the CLU students coached us at Teal High School and they looked like babies. But then I guess I was 14. But it's crazy because I'm like, literally?
Okay, a great event, something to really be proud of and to celebrate together as a community. So, and thank you to Doug and Chuck for your work on the committee and presenting this great team. We're moving on to item 4, items from the public. Do we have any public online? Nope. Okay. Okay. Item 5, approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion at this time.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as is written.
Okay, we have a motion to approve as presented. Is there a second?
I'll make a second to that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Opposed? Abstention?
hold on. That wants to make a comment?
I'm sorry. They want to make a comment
There's
from the
a,
public or on something? in the
Yeah,
min-
for the
yes, there's a
Item
person
from
who
the
wants
public.
to make a comment in the
items.
Public hearing?
items from the public.
Okay, and just to make sure everybody knows, we just made the approval of the agenda as presented. Okay, public, introduce the member's name. Philip, are you on board?
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, there. Am I okay? Just allow me in. Is that good?
If you could increase the volume.
Let's see. Is that better?
Go ahead.
Okay, is that any better?
I think he can hear you if you speak. We can hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay, sorry. All right, yeah, I just had a quick question. My daughter's playing club soccer now and started a year ago. And we were practicing at the fields And then we applied for the fields again, and we have a couple hundred kids playing on our club. And then we no longer have access to any of the fields, and just trying to see what we can do to work around that. I know field space is limited, but I know the other club has one team and still got some field space. And we have, I don't know how many teams, I want to say 15 or 20 with a couple hundred, 200, 300 kids, something like that. And we don't have a place to practice for any of them. So just trying to see what we can do to get, to help out with that, so our kids have a place to practice. What what paperwork needs to be done, or what we can do to help get that done.
Okay, so have you been working with our staff?
I personally haven't. We just found out about this a couple weeks ago. I know we submitted the paperwork in December, and that we were, I'm not sure the whole process, quite honestly, yet. I'm just learning all of this, and just trying to see what we could do to help get all those a few hundred kids a place to practice. Because the club with 15 kids does have all the field time, and the club with 200 or 300 kids doesn't have any field time anywhere. And just trying to make sure we can get those kids somewhere to practice.
Okay, Mr. General Manager.
Yeah, hey, Mr. DeBolt, I'm the general manager. So you're speaking during public comments, which doesn't really allow us to take any action on anything tonight. But if we can get if you're willing to, what's the best way to do it? Yeah, send at parks@crpd.org. So if you send an email to parks@crpd.org with any of your contact info, we have staff that can reach out and get in touch with you about, your specific club and issues and that kind of thing. So.
Okay, so staff at crpd.org.
Parks@crpd.org.
Parks@crpd.org. Okay, I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much and have a good evening. Okay, we're now moving on to item 6, consent calendar A, approval of the minutes of January 30th and the special board meeting and February 1st, 2024 regular board meeting. And B, approval of warrants, accounts payable, register $784,199.46 and a payroll of $484,000. Any board members have any comments associated with those two items? If
No.
not,
I'll move approval of items 6A and B.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second to approve 6A and B. Any comments or questions come to mind? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. Item 7, deferred matters. We have none this evening. Item 8, items for discussion. We have none this evening. We're moving on to item 9, new items. 9A, annual audit report. And I know who's going to lead us in that. Go for it, Melissa.
Thank you, Chair and Directors. I'm going to hand it over to Ben in just a minute, but I wanted to just give a reminder that it's best practices for us to change auditors every few years. So the past 4 years, we were with a different firm, but now we are back with Moss Levy and part-time, and this is our first year with them and their new contract. And this is Ben Zhang, our principal there, and he's going to be giving a presentation for you.
Hi, good evening, board members. So it'll be a pretty easy, painless presentation today because, it's all good news. So I'll start by saying that the opinion that we expressed on the financial statements was unmodified. So that's the highest opinion that we auditors give financial statements in general. So that's what's typically referred to as a clean opinion. So with that being said, I'd like to go over some financial highlights for the year and then open it up for any questions and comments. So on the government-wide statement of net position, so this is the entire government, the entire district as a whole, including long-term assets, capital assets, and long-term debt. Assets exceeded liabilities by approximately $187 million, and that's an increase of 12.3 in the current fiscal year. The general fund, which probably is more of concern to everyone, fund balance increased by $4.5 million in the current year to $43.95 million. And 9.3 of that is unassigned. So this is a really healthy amount for a district of CRPD size. The unassigned fund balance increased by $1.6 million, and that's primarily due to increases in property taxes. Property taxes have been going up, expenditures have remained largely the same, and you didn't have the unrealized investment losses that you had in the prior fiscal year. So obviously, last year was not a good year in the markets, and even though the district invests in pretty conservative financial instruments. Unfortunately, the rates that were being offered at the time are much less than what they were after the fact. So some of the market value of those investments decreased in the 2022 fiscal year. So obviously that trend has reversed in 2023. So you didn't have those losses. So due to those two facts, general fund balance has increased. Other funds remain largely the same, except for capital projects funds decreased slightly, just because with capital projects, there's always a timing factor. When the projects are being done, when they're being reimbursed, the grants distributed, things of that nature, but it's insignificant, the amount. So the general fund reserve percentage was 36%. So we calculate that by taking the unassigned fund balance and dividing it by the total expenditures in the general fund. That's in the current fiscal year. So that's, it's more than sufficient compared to other governmental units. And it means that, theoretically, the district can operate for more than 4 months on reserves alone. So if you want to compare that with similar districts in this area, that percentage may not be as high, but that's only due to the fact that another district of similar general fund expenditure, so similar size, I guess. I don't know if it's similar. I'm talking about Rancho. I don't know. They're similar size.
Yeah.
Well, by expenditures, they seem similar, but the only reason why your unassigned fund balances may seem less than theirs is because you make use of significant assignments and commitments. So you're setting aside portions of the unassigned fund balance for, pension, things of that nature. If you took that out of the equation, the district here is much healthier. The total fund balance here is almost double current year expenditures, whereas other districts, and they don't use commitments and assignments at all, and their total fund balance is less than 1 year of general fund expenditures. So, and I think that's probably the reason why for the use of commitment and assignments, because with governmental units, you're not supposed to operate like a business. So a really healthy bottom line isn't necessarily the goal. So it's good to kind of, I guess, set some of that aside for specific purposes. So if asked by the public, you can say that, we're not hoarding, we're just putting it aside for, this and this and this. And you can see that on the financial statement. GASB 68, was implemented a prior fiscal year related to pensions, and the investment losses that I talked about that probably everybody's aware of in 2022 impacted the net pension liability in 2023 because of the way that information is reported. So the valuation for those pension numbers are 2 years behind, and then the measurement period is 1 year behind. So any adverse market conditions in 2022 are going to reflect in 2023 financials. So that's why it's hitting the financials now. And then obviously next year, it'll be a reversal of that. So the net pension liability, unfortunately, increased by $11 million to $19.1 million. And that doesn't impact the general fund at all, because it's the way it's presented. It's only for the government-wide statements. And kind of something similar happened with OPEB too, except the OPEB is super funded. So you have more in investments than the pension, but then that super funded balance went from 1 point something million to 1 million. So it decreased about $1 million, but you're still super funded. The only major implementation as far as accounting standards in the current fiscal year was 96 related to software leases. And there weren't any transactions that were material to the district. So that's everything I had to say. Were there any questions, comments, any detailed questions? I'd probably have to address at a later time. I don't have all the information in front of me. So,
It's good to have you back.
yeah, no, it's good to be back. Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Director Nichols?
I just had one question. When you started off to say that you felt it was at the unmodified level, which is the highest level. I mean, is that just subjective, or are there actually tiers and levels at which an organization can fall within?
Well, unmodified means no material misstatements. So it's either unmodified, modified, qualified, or adverse.
Okay,
You know, and unmodified is typically just a clean opinion. There's no like C grade or anything. It's either not materially misstated or materially misstated. So it just means that, you know, any material misstatements, any numbers that we found to be materially misstated were corrected during the audit process so that the financial statements as we present them today are accurate with respect to materiality. Yeah.
good. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, Director Bus.
I want to say thank you for clarifying our position against other similar park districts in the area. We won't name any names here, but I appreciate that because I'm on the finance committee, and so we went over all this, and then I was like, oh wait, what happened? Like, and then when you said, oh, because you assign them and they don't, I appreciate you clarifying that, because I was like, but we have a lot of reserve. No, wait, we don't. But you were just talking about the unassigned because they just use only unassigned.
Right. It's, you know,
Yeah,
and
that's
typically
interesting.
wealthier, well, we audit a lot of districts and cities. Typically wealthier cities do the same thing. It's kind of like you have, you know, if you're talking about personal finances, it's having enough money to put it aside for your 401k and your kids' education and this and that. So at the end of the month or year, whatever, you may not have as much cash coming in, but you've set it aside for investments and investment property, things of that nature, as opposed to just, you know, we meet our expenses and then everything else goes into the checking account or whatever.
Right, in which if you want to do any sort of capital improvements, it's like in this day and age with
Right.
the expense of everything, you have to accumulate them over years. So
Right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and piggyback on Director Bus's comments about you comparing us to other districts. If you recall, I'm probably one who repetitively asks how we, matched mark up to other districts. And the fact that you went ahead and brought that to our attention was very much appreciated. So, so thanks. Any other board member comments or questions? Yes, Director Kutzler.
I don't have any questions. I'd just like to say thank you very much. This is very important to our district, and as a government agency, I appreciate that we're financially sound and for the effort and time that you put into this. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, a small bird told me that somebody on the board likes comparisons. I thought I'd throw that in there since they're also a client of ours. I shouldn't have said their name. Hopefully they're not watching. I don't know if other governmental agencies watch other government agencies board meetings.
Who knows?
So, yeah, if I get the cold shoulder when we show up there, I'll know why. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion
I'll make a motion.
to accept
Yeah.
accept the audit fiscal year FY ending June 30, 2023 as prepared by the accounting firm of Moss, Levy, Hartzheim, CPAs LLP. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions come to mind? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. And thank you, Melissa, for all the work that you and your staff have
Thank
done.
you. And thank you, Ben. You've been great.
Yes, thanks again.
He's like, bye.
Go get some Dr. Fields.
He has a new baby at home, so we're gonna let him go run home. Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to item 9B, approval, annual review and adoption of a financial reserves policy. Melissa?
Yes, so you get me again. Thank you, Chair and board members, and thank you, Katie, for making me a panelist so I can share my screen. What we have is the annual review of the financial reserves policy. We bring this to you every year. And it's basically two kind of steps. I'm gonna walk you through it once I get this set up. But the first step is pretty basic. We update all the balances in the reserve policy to match those in the financial statements that you just approved. So that's the first part of the red line changes that you're seeing in the policy is just updating those balances so that they tie to the financial statements. And so let me share if I can figure it out. Yay. So this is in your packet, but I wanted to have it up there so I can walk you through the other changes that are happening. So in addition to the updated balances, the next changes that we always do are the updated target funding amounts. So the ones that have changed, I've tried to highlight in yellow at the very bottom. The first one that we change is the pension stabilization amount, and that is literally just the amount that we would need to have set aside to be 100% funded in our retiree liabilities. So we changed that to be 5.44 in that fund, and right now we have 5.54 in that fund. So we have a little bit more than the target funding for that purpose, but not so much that we want to move anything or anything like that. We're going to get updated numbers on the retiree liabilities. So no changes there, but just to highlight, that's one of the changes we make in the target balance. The next target balance that we changed is in the capital facilities and property acquisition reserve. Now this, we had kind of described in a previous version, but we wanted to make it more clear about how we came up with this target. So we actually attached a new not a new calculation, but we are attaching the calculation to the policy itself. And I think I need to share that one separately. So let me do that one. And this is in your packet as well. It's a little small on the screen, so hopefully you can follow along in your packet. But the top portion is how we come up with that $230.2 million number. The yellow number, the yellow 53, is the year X in our capital improvements plan that Andrew presents us. And so we know these are projects that we need to do, but we still need to identify the funding to do them. That's at 53 million. The amount in blue at 128.8 million is the amount that we would need to fulfill our existing park deficiencies. So currently we are 70 acres deficient. We are estimating an acquisition price of 1.34 million and a development cost of $500,000 per acre. And that brings you to 128.8 million. Finally, we wanted to show the impacts of any future or anticipated housing and increased population. And so that's the number below. And the resulting one is green based on the 7,500 additional units that were presented in the city's general plan. So that came up with the 48.45 million. So back to the top, you add those all up together and you get that 230.25 million as the goal for that fund. We recognize this is very aspirational, but we wanted to have this information available for us and for you in our conversations when we're talking about the projects that we need to have for the district. Any questions on that? I know it's a new thing.
Board members, any questions? Director Nichols.
I did have a question on your source for determining the people per housing unit of 2.05.
The source.
I think that might be census. That's,
Yeah, the density factor.
I think that came out of the census.
Yes.
The most
Depend-
recent census.
Depending on the density factor of the housing type. So it changes with the census and the city updates their housing plan based on that. So there's been shifts of it over time, but typically like single family is about 3 or over 3, and then multifamily is in the 2 range. So those were the updated information that we had from the city planning staff as well as the census.
Okay, that's what I was wondering is what type of housing unit is being forecasted? Because I know they do vary by the different types.
Yeah, so we were assuming for multifamily, so it's a
Multi,
little
okay.
bit more conservative and it's the lower of the numbers.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, Director Bus.
So I just want to make a comment about it, that when we went over this in the finance meeting, that I think that these numbers are definitely aspirational, but the price per acre to buy at. So I love to forecast and project, but hopefully we can buy at lower than 1.34 million per acre. And so I think that that's something that needs to be noted, is that these goals are based on hopefully the highest costs we would see, not so much the average. And maybe we might be able to achieve our goals on our 10-year list at a lower price. But that was one thing that we discussed in the finance meeting, because I was like, I really hope we're not buying everything at 1.34 million and an acre, and that we can find or have very generous people who want to give back to the Park and Rec and sell at a lower price for us. So I think that hopefully we can accomplish these goals without having to get 230 million is more what I'm trying to say. So that's just my comment from the finance meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other? Director Kesslerth.
So we had talked in another time, I don't remember, about perhaps in the future including city parks, or like we have the apartment building that's coming up, that's going to be a pocket park there, and things like Gardens of the World or the park that's in front of the lakes. Is any of that acreage included into this target, or do we have any plans that we could include parks that are not owned by CRPD but are open to the public free of charge?
So these stats or these numbers are based on what district would need to provide per our current standards and the forecasting of those standards over time. The master plan does take in consideration and will take in consideration like future, whether it's publicly accessible, as well as note private, as well as other like city property, the golf course, as you mentioned, the lakes and other things. So that is accounted for in the master plan. However, that's not under CRPD control. So that can change over time as the city develops and evolves. That might change. So per our statistics and our calculations, it's only CRPD owned and managed properties. So.
Okay, any additional? Yes, Director Huffer.
Just sort of a follow on to what Director Buss said. Even if we got the property at half the price that they're quoting here, we're still looking at 80 some million for curing the park deficiency. So even 80 million is pretty aspirational, but it is at least something to be thinking about. And you know, someone comes along with $80 million willing to gift it to the district, why not?
We'll take it.
Good comment. Optimistic. Yes, Director Nichols.
Yes. Thank you. I did have just a couple more questions. Ms. Smith, regarding the reference to the interfund loan that we approved some time ago, and I see.
I'm so
There's a-
glad you asked. That was the next thing I was going to go over.
Oh, well, if you're not finished, then go right ahead. I'll listen up.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
All right. So those are kind of the changes to that target funding balance number at the bottom of this big tracker of all of our reserve fund balances. So the column on the far right shows that 9.35 million that Ben was talking about as a healthy unassigned reserve balance for us as a district. And as he also mentioned, we have a very good practice of assigning those funds to other purposes as part of this reserves practice. So that 9.35 million is broken down. Within that, we've already set aside about $500,000 for employee housing revolving fund. And this is we collect the rents that are paid by our employees that are in housing, and we set that aside for future housing improvement needs. And then we have the 2.2 million interfund loan that was for Conejo Creek Southwest. That is getting paid back as what's the correct term? Park development fees, I just go PDF in my brain. Come to the district, half of anything received within that zone then gets paid back to the general fund. So it started at 3 million and it's currently at 2.2. So that's part of that 9.35 amount. Then we have a budgeted use of unassigned fund balance of $250,000. And then we typically leave about 2 million in our unassigned fund balance. And so that's why we are recommending using the rest of that unassigned fund balance and moving it to that capital facilities and property acquisition reserve to start making a dent in that $230 million number. Again, we know it's aspirational, but then those funds will be available if we had, say, a grant we had to match or a big project we had to do. This would be available for that purpose. And so I don't know if that answered your question on the interfund loan.
It does partially.
Okay.
The other part was, I'm just trying to envision pockets, buckets, envelopes, whatever you want to call it. So when that loan was authorized, what bucket did the money come out of, and then what bucket did it go in? And then as we repay it, what is the reverse process to make sure that all the buckets are where they're supposed to be?
Yes, so technically, and this is super complicated and wonky, so I'm really sorry in advance. It stayed in the general fund. That's why it's appearing as part of this unassigned general fund number on this chart. However, we use the expenses and tracked them within that zone so we can make sure that as the revenue coming in for the park development fees in that zone come in, we can pay back the general fund. So the money didn't move, it's just the expenses are being tracked and then we're reimbursing the general fund as those monies come in.
Okay, and that's just as we're describing, as we have the different zones throughout the district where certain allocations are supposed to stay.
Yes.
But I guess you can just kind of move them around as you need, as long as, like I said, you track them so that you always know where it should be, even though it may have changed over time, and
Exactly.
put it back where it belongs when the opportunity exists.
Yes, we
Okay.
use the general fund to pay for the expenses in that zone and we're just reimbursing the general fund for
Okay.
those.
All right, that helps because I was always wondering, where was this bucket of money that
Yep.
that was out there somewhere? Let's see, I have another couple of questions, but I don't know if you finished your presentation, maybe.
I'm all done. I'm
Okay.
available for questions.
Okay, well, then I did have just one follow-up because
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned that the $2 million unassigned was a target. Is that a dollar amount based or a percentage based target?
It is a dollar amount and there's not a calculation other than that's typically around what we've had. But that's something we could move, but it's also, it's been enough to address those projects that come up or if bids come in over what are expected, things like that, where you don't have to tap into one of the other assigned reserves and it's
Mhm.
been able to fulfill that purpose. If there was a time where we started thinking that wasn't enough, maybe we would talk about increasing it, but that seems to be enough to cover those unexpected expenses without having to tap into other resources.
Okay, because I was just thinking that it didn't seem like too long ago, our budget was about $20 million. And 2 would have been about 10%. And now we're $30 million plus, and it's still $2 million. So I was thinking, yeah, $2 million today is not going as far as $2 million did just 3 years ago.
Well, and I would also remind everyone on the board that when the state has a budget emergency, they look to local districts unassigned fund balance for potential pots. So you don't want it to
No.
climb too high.
No, I understand that, but it also has to be enough for a rainy day fund.
Yes.
And so that's why I didn't know if $2 million is always going to be the key factor, whether it's a budget of $20 million or a budget of $100 million, or if there should be some percentage factor for inflation or things like that. So not to be resolved tonight, it just was a question as to
Sure.
how that plays out.
Is that it, Director Nichols?
Oh, just one comment. This has to do with all the red line markups in the policy.
Yes.
I just was looking at all the dates and dollars that are changing. I just was wondering if maybe just a reference that said, see attached table. And that way you don't have to change all the numbers and the dates every time.
I actually thought about that and I didn't want to break with tradition, but if that is a preferable format, I will happily do it.
I support it.
Director Buss.
I have a quick question about the intra-fund loan. What's the projection on the payoff for that based on what fees you are collecting in that area?
What do you mean? Like the date?
Yeah, like how long will it take you to pay off that loan based on just getting park development fees in that area? Is there like an average over the last 5 years? or-
So it's more of a planning question about when big apartment projects are gonna get built along the boulevard.
Oh, so
that's-
they will, okay, so that will be part of that district. and
So,
those will
yeah,
pay.
so that, yeah, so what,
I was thinking it was
essentially
sale
what we
80s.
did is we used our general fund money to pay for Conejo Creek Southwest construction when we wanted to use the money we knew we would collect from these apartments and when they get built to
Mhm.
build that park that's gonna kind of serve that area. So that this is a way for us to use general fund money, get that park built. And now as the future Quimby comes in that zone, we'll be able to pay back that loan. So it'll be
Okay.
future apartments along Teal Boulevard.
That are already
Uh,
in the planning process?
Yeah, yeah,
That you
there's-
kind of already saw projected?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
kind of have a sense. I think there's 11 projects out there or something like that.
Oh.
We get the city of TO Community Development Department shares with us kind of their projected
Right.
projects that are coming out. So I want to say there's like 11 multifamily projects in
In
the
that zone.
pipeline. Not just that zone, but in the city.
But there was enough when you did it that.
Yeah, we think eventually Teal Boulevard will have the units that would pay back. the
Oh,
loan.
okay, that makes sense. Cause I was thinking it was gonna be on all ADUs and single family homes. I
No.
was like, wow, this is gonna take a while.
No.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Buss. Yes, any other comments or questions from other board members? Go ahead, Director Nichols.
One observation, and thank you for this calculation. Oh, thank you. I was looking through this, and down at the bottom of your housing units anticipated, I noticed in that list, the only thing that's really under our control is developer fees. Nothing else is within our control, which in essence is Quimby fees. So the only thing that we as a district could ever adjust is that figure. Is that correct?
Technically, we could adjust how many parks per 1,000 people. So that's just going off of the existing master plan and how the district has been built out over time. But as far as to get additional funds, that's the only variable that we have control over, correct?
But as far as, so you're saying like acres needed per 1,000 people, but that's a standard that's, I wouldn't say that it's fixed and can't be changed, but that's an objective to attain.
Correct. It's a goal, but if just like development has changed throughout the city, if the board and staff and the community look to change that is a variable that can be changed. However,
Okay.
we would not want to change that,
Right.
but we do
Okay.
control that. So that's set by the board in the master plan.
Yeah, I guess we could always change that, but then we'll be getting more calls like we did tonight of, I don't have enough fields to practice on, so. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you, Director Nichols. Any other comments or questions come to mind? If not, I'd entertain a motion at this time.
Yeah, I'd like to, let me bring up the proper page again. So I'd like
119.
to move that we adopt staff recommendation, adopt the district's amended financial reserves policy.
Thank you, Director Hubbard. Do we have a second?
Go ahead.
Sure, I'll
Director
second that.
Nichols. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments, thoughts come to mind? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. Okay, we're moving on to item 10, reports and announcements. Any comments, information associated with A, recreation highlights, B, budget performance report, January 24, or C, investment report, December 2023. Yes, Director Cuthbert.
I always really enjoy looking at this report, Mrs. Callis or Director Callis. I don't know what we're going to call you now.
Miss.
Um, On the Peace Day camp, I'm assuming that's going to be at the Thousand Oaks Center. Is there a time that looks really interesting to me. I thought if I had time, I'd go over and see it.
Yes, so Safe Passage will be running their Peace Day tomorrow at TOC and anytime between 9 and 1.
Okay. So, what did you say? At TOC? So
Yeah,
it's at the Thousand Oaks.
Thousand
Okay, I
Oaks
thought you said
Community Center.
COC, and I'm
Sorry, Thousand Oaks
COC,
Community
COC,
Center.
what's COC?
Thousand Oaks Community
Okay.
Center and between
9 to 1.
9 and 1. I think they're actually starting at 8, but by the time buses get there and the kids get off and all that
Right.
good stuff, if you show up between 9 and 1 before they get on the bus, you should be fine.
I always love it when I'm seeing all of these, different things that are happening, a lot of collaboration in there. So that sounds great. When's the reptile show? Do you know?
I don't know what time of the day it is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions associated with the reports and announcements? If not, we're moving on to item 11, department reports, starting off with Park Division.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. Just a reminder, next Saturday, February 24th, we'll have the ribbon cutting for the Conejo Creek North Playground. So very fun. Rochelle's folks have some fun treats and activities and fun stuff, and it'll be pretty cool to kind of introduce that officially to the community. We do have some more rain in the forecast, which is good. However, we've been pretty good with minimal issues in the park. So park staff in the field has been doing a great job of keeping things moving, including the water with drainage, all this fun stuff, and trying to get the parks squared away. So when we do have dry time, people can be using it. So hopefully we'll continue that trend with some rain, but also some usable parks. So as well as planning staff has been working with RM on the master plan. So we've been making some progress the past month and a half or so. So that's going well. And as well as planning staff and parks and recreation staff is going to be meeting next week regarding the Borchard Skate Park. So we're going to get a 90% CD set for the skate park project. As soon as we kind of get some fine tuning on that project with the consultant, we'll be looking to take that into permits in the coming months. And then I'm hoping to bring back an item to the board to be able to take it to construction. So if you remember, that was an item on the last capital plan for year 2 of this budget cycle. And so that would be hopefully sometime before summer break, if not earlier, depending on permit timing and such. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Yes, Director Huffer.
Comment and a question. My comment is, I apologize, I will not be able to be at the ribbon cutting. Sorry, Conejo Creek North. I'm going to be visiting family in Tucson. Question, I should have just called you with this question, but as I drive through Conejo Creek South for the tax program every day, I'm just wondering what the major excavation going on at the far northeast corner is all about.
Yeah, we're actually installing fertigation tanks. So we do liquid fertilizer in our system. So that's a site that staff has been coordinating out there. So actually our point of connection is off Page Lane, like the north side of Page Lane that comes in off of Jan. So that's where our point of connection for the water comes into that corner of the park. So,
So they're going to have even greener grass.
that's the plan.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Director Cussworth.
Just a comment. I had a friend stop by the other day and he said he took his grandkids over to the library park. That's what they all call it. And he loved it. He said the grandkids had a great time. So are both because I think he mentioned that they went to both the grown or the older kids and then the younger kids. So those are both open right now?
Correct.
Yeah. He highly commented. He went into a lot of detail about everything they had, compared it to the other park. And so I said, well, it sounds like you're satisfied. And he said, very satisfied. So I thought I'd pass that on to you.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Thank you, Andrew. Moving on to 11B, Recreation Division. Ms. Callis.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. So just a couple of things. So Teen Center is taking 45 youth to Mountain High to go skiing tomorrow. So hopefully they'll have a safe and fun trip, but we're excited about that for the youth to be able to go and do that. And then I did want to just follow up with a question that you guys asked me a time or two ago in regards to outreach. And on their report, they had an elementary school that they were going to, which was unusual, and we all had to dig into it a little bit. But yes, a school principal reached out and asked for some assistance, and our outreach staff got approval and has been in there helping about 5 kids. So we will do that if the school is asking for it, because as you know, it's a shared program. So we're there to support the school, and they pay half of that program and we pay the other half. So it is not normal, but when asked to help an identified child, we will. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Callis. Are there any questions associated with recreation? If not, moving on to management services, and I hope you had a great vacation, Ellen. Was it Aruba?
We went to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. So 3 beautiful Dutch islands. It feels very cold here now. But yeah, it was great. And you've all heard my whole world tonight, so I don't have any report, but you're free to ask any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Anybody have any questions? Okay, we're moving on to general manager's report.
All right, we do have a need for closed session, so that will come up tonight at the end. Wanted to let the board know officially, I hope you guys may have heard, but we did quite well, knock on wood, during the last rain. We got substantial volumes, but in terms of places we've had localized flooding or traditional trail washouts, all those kind of problem areas, I think over many, many years, we've addressed them rainstorm after rainstorm, and we're narrowing down the problem areas after bigger rain. So I asked Matt after all the rains, like, Matt, what do you got to tell me? What got messed up? And he's like, it's doing pretty good. So knock on wood, we got through that first rain event pretty well. And again, we're having another one, and hills are saturated. So landslide or hill coming down is not unthinkable, but our district's faring pretty well through the rain. Parma conference is next week. Parma stands for Public Agency Risk Management Association. So I am attending that in my capacity as not only GM here, but on the Capri board. So they're actually paying for me to go. So I'll be at that conference from Tuesday to Friday, and Monday is President's Day. So I won't be around next week. There will be a COSCA board meeting, and Matt Kuba is going to be sitting in for me at that meeting. And just wanted to share info as I get it. We had been working with the Westlake Rotary on another large event, but they just let us know last week that they are not going to pursue their Wild Oaks event. So I just wanted to give you guys that heads up. And then I am doing way better, but I was really sick over the weekend, and so sick that I sat alone on Super Bowl, and I'd never been alone. Like, I was sitting there alone on Super Bowl, and I thought, wow, this is like what it's like to miss Christmas or something. You just like had this, like, I'm supposed to do something or be with folks, but I was so sick. So anyway, yeah, whatever that thing that went around for a lot of people, I got it bad, but I'm on the mend. So anyway, available for any kind of questions.
We're glad you're feeling better and you're here this evening, and appreciate your report. Yes, Director Cuthberts.
Somewhat of an unofficial question. I was sick also. Were you fainting?
I don't think I actually hit the ground, but I thought
That was what it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Because I thought, what's wrong with me? I'm feeling like I'm going to faint all the time. I'm laying in bed and I think I'm going to faint. And so that's okay. I didn't know anything was going around. I thought I was just odd. So I'm glad that you were sick. Now I know that.
Oh, gee, that's quite a
I
comment.
thought I was just getting older than I was. So, okay. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the general manager? Thank you. And moving on to item E, director's reports and follow-up reports on meetings, conferences attended. Start with Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a little catch up since I was not here at the last board meeting. On the 29th of January, I had a Conejo Creek Ad Hoc Committee meeting. And on January 30th, I had this, of course, a special Board of Directors meeting. And then February 6th, the Ventura County Special Districts Association, and then February 10th, the Mardi Gras Ball. And I was not sick on Sunday until the game ended.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, there's your.
Yeah.
He's crying over here.
But feeling fine now. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Buss.
So we had the finance meeting. I also started my tour of all the centers and went to the Conejo Community Center and had an amazing tour of everything, even including the storage facilities, which I never thought I would ever see. And now my dreams are all fulfilled. So, I also did get to go see Finding Nemo because my niece was in it as the little octopus and a seagull, and she was a sea turtle. And I just have to say, like, I love going to musicals and theater and anything really. And watching children do it is just like, I don't know if I'm the only one, but like just makes me want to cry so much sooner. Like they're so amazing and just pouring their little hearts into it and to see them. So I just think it's really fun getting to be in this part of our lives. And then, yes, went to the Mardi Gras ball, had a lot of fun. And that's it. That's all I got for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your involvement and then appreciate the report on the Conejo Community Center. I don't think I've ever been to the storage facility.
Try it. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's very well organized.
Okay, Director Cussworth.
So, I was at the, VCSDA meeting that was here, so it was nice having it here and enjoyed that. Also, I was at the, state of the, CLU, I guess that's what they called it, State of the University. And, that was very interesting. Maybe all of you don't know that we did have a college here before we had a high school, because there weren't very many people living here. And it was Richard Pedersen, which donated a lot of the land to that college. So, and it was the first four-year liberal arts college in all of Ventura County that we have here. And they're still making a name for themselves. So it was kind of nice having our soccer girls here. But I think the highlight was that I got to visit with Mr. Mooney for a while, get to know him a little bit better. So it's nice when we have those opportunities. And I want to give a shout out to Floyd and Brandon on the maintenance team. And another young gentleman whose name I don't remember, but they were there at the Stagecoach Inn. I was having a meeting with just a couple of people and they were replacing a pipe. And they were banging away and, they saw that there was a need and they fixed this pipe. And it just made me think of our maintenance people because I don't think they just do plumbing. Do they? What else do our maintenance people do in all of our buildings, Mr. Mooney?
All the trades, so electrical, plumbing, masonry, they do tile work, what you name it, everything, roofing, carpentry.
Because
all-
I was very impressed of I wasn't really bothering them, but we did hear them banging away. And very, very short time, didn't interrupt the meeting. We were glad that they let us, be there. But, there's not that many of them. And we have old buildings, like you might think, oh, the Stagecoach Inn, that's a really old building. Well, actually, it was built in like 1970. The old building burned down. And so we have buildings that are even older than that, who are, going to be having rusty pipes and sewage problems and all of these different things. And we have these guys that are out there fixing them. And I think that that's really notable and we should remember them for keeping our buildings in good tip-top shape. So that's my shout out to Floyd and Brandon and the other nice gentleman that was there. He'll know who he is. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Helfer.
Just a few items. I also attended the Ventura County Special District Association dinner meeting, which is nice to have it here, and appreciate Aline and the folks getting things all nicely dolled up for all of our guests. Nice that they've found sponsors for each of the dinners, because that way it doesn't come out of the association's funds. It's paid for by sponsors, and maybe it's just the mood I was in that night, but somehow the speaker left me a little bit odd. I thought for celebrating special districts, but that's my own opinion. I also was at the Mardi Gras ball. I wish I'd brought my sunglasses with Director Buss and her outfit and her brother's outfit. That was almost blinding, so
That was my husband.
your husband, sorry. And we've had the first 11 days of the CSVP tax program. And in those 11 days, we've completed almost 400 tax returns. So we're off to a good start.
Thank you, Director Helfer. I too attended the main activities, DCSDA, Mardi Gras Ball, et cetera. And I felt that the Mardi Gras Ball was smaller this year in attendance, because I remember us being against the wall, trying to move our chairs, to get to the tables. And this time, there was a large area between the wall and the first table. So I don't know if it was just my, incorrect assessment, or if that in fact was that much smaller.
I think we moved up more, we got better seats this year.
No, they're really down.
Say again?
They're really down in attendance.
Yeah,
It's a big thing. They only had like 250 people, and normally you have like 400 to fill that ball.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of how I felt, but I didn't know that for a fact.
yeah, they really are. And it wasn't as financially profitable as it normally is.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm still, even though it's, not like it used to be, it's still taking place, and there's still community involved in supporting groups like that. Obviously, at my age, I saw a lot of younger couples participating this year than normal, but again, it was just great to see a community come together in an event like that. So good work. Okay, you can do another one, of course.
Really doesn't relate to this, but I enjoy it when Director Lang sends us little updates and history things, relating to MRCA. So I thoroughly enjoyed the little history about the railroad in Malibu, which I knew a lot about. If you haven't been to the Adamson House, I would highly recommend it. It is run by State Park. So they're kind of one of our, government agencies. And poor May Rin, she tried to also not have a road go through her property in Malibu. But we probably know that that one didn't work, because we've all been on PCH. And it took most of her money to try to stop it, which she didn't. And that's why we have Malibu Colony, because they started selling off some of their land for that. Just a little history moment. And thank you to Mr. Lang for keeping us up to date with what's going on at MRCA. I always appreciate your updates.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I get carried away, so I don't want to overdo, some of the things that I'm aware of with MRCA, but it's a great organization. We're very fortunate to have staff of the Conservancy, Rory Skay, Joe Edmonston. Melissa used to be part of that great crew, but now she's a great member of CRPD, and we're so glad to have you, Melissa. Okay, we're moving on to item 12, requests for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Anybody have anything they want to bring up in the future? All right, we're moving on to item 13, items from the public. Do we have any public over there? All right. We're now moving on to item 14, executive closed session. And as the general manager mentioned, we do have a need for closed session. If you'd take us into the closed session, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lang. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54.956.9 and 54.956.95, we have a workers' compensation claimant, Kerrigan Mize, claim number CRPD 0278, workers' comp appeal board case number ADJ 1400985. Chris Griffin Esquire of Griffin, Lotson, Holzman will join us in closed session.
Okay.
Are we here? Or are we
Those
gonna
who
go
don't need to
the
be in
other room?
closed session.
We're here? Okay. So y'all gotta bolt.